Hi everyone, this is Player 1, and today I bring you a first impressions review of Drive Girls for the PlayStation Vita and PlayStation TV. Sorry to keep you all waiting from the unboxing. We had a little bit of an issue with the PS TV and getting it recorded, but now we're good to go. For this video, I will focus on my first impressions of the game after a few hours of gameplay. Because we had some extra time due to the technical issues, it gave me more time with the game, so I think I have a better idea of what you should expect. Just so you know, on our channel, we also do in-depth reviews, pickups, unboxings, gaming podcasts, cover gaming news, and anything else we can think of, so please take a look at some of the other videos on our channel. As usual, I buy all these games myself, so expect a completely honest review. Alright, now a little bit about Drive Girls. For those who are unaware, it's a 3D action game released by Tamsoft and Axis. In the game, you take control of girls who can choose to fight in human form, hack and slash style, or transform into cars at will. And that's really all you need to know about the setup, because it doesn't get any more complicated or deep than that. The story is basically about becoming part of a small squad of girls whose job it is to reclaim an island that bugs have taken over. Beyond this, you get to know each playable character as they deal with the surprisingly resourceful bugs. Although there is a story, it is hidden under some pretty bad writing that tries too hard to be comedic. If you have played the Hyperdimension Neptunia games, you have a good idea of what they were trying to go for, but ultimately achieved at a lower level of quality. Frankly, the cutscenes and story was of little to no consequence, and I never truly cared about the one-dimensional characters. Expect to run into the typical anime stereotypes and get the rare, and I do mean really rare, smile while going through the story. As is usual with these budget Japanese games, and many Japanese games for that matter, the story is told through visual novel type dialogue scenes. Here the lack of polish really starts to show. There is no animation to the characters, just a flapping of the mouth and blinking eyes. It may seem silly, but the breathing effect in most of the new games that have these type of scenes really breathes new life into the characters. No pun intended. One character, a young hologram, doesn't even move at all. Maybe this is just nitpicky, especially considering some of the other problems I found with the game, but still, it kinda bugs me. As far as the graphics are concerned, they're pretty good for a Vita game. The environments are repetitive as well as the enemies, but it's not too distracting as long as you focus on the combat. You can change the appearance of your character a bit, but don't expect too many cosmetic options. There is a clothing destruction system, so there's that. The weird thing is that you get a bonus for having all your clothes destroyed, so there is actual incentives to take damage. It makes sense on a fan service level, but not quite on a gameplay one. Oh well. Let's not lie about the fact that much of the appeal of the game has to do with the mixing of sexy animated girls, action, and cars. There isn't a deep level up system, but there's enough to keep you entertained, so I guess that's nice. The music does what it needs to, which is exist as background noise for the game, but isn't really remarkable. It never bothered me, so I guess that's a plus. Now let's talk about the combat. It's a pretty simple beat 'em up. For most of the game, you can survive by spamming 2 attacks. In the later stages, you have to actually start doing jumping attacks, but again, once you figure that out, it's pretty easy to barrel through most of the enemies. The issue becomes more of the number of enemies and their health level instead of the actual strategy. The special attacks take up energy, which is valuable as a means to develop stat multipliers. But truth be told, I'm not sure the weighing of the options really does much to help out the combat and make it less repetitive. You can also transform into a car. Transforming itself is a bit cumbersome because you have to hold down a button to do so. Definitely not game breaking, just takes a little bit to get used to. The biggest issue with the transformation is the camera and dealing with it while driving around and trying to ram enemies. Also included are a couple racing levels, but these aren't great. It's obvious this is not a racing game, as the cars don't control that great. There is also a multiplayer component, but it's pretty bare bones. You probably won't find many people online, so expect to play with your friends or locally to get any worthwhile experience online. Okay, so what's the verdict? Well, this is a budget title and you have to take it as such. At the typical $39.99 launch price, I think it is much more expensive than it needs to be. If you're curious and want to pick it up, I would recommend not paying more than $10 to $15 for it. Is it still fun? Yeah, for some of it. Those who haven't experienced this type of game before might enjoy what it offers, but ultimately, you can go somewhere else. For example, if you're really desperate for a beat 'em up in the similar vein with some fan service and silly story, you can check out more polished games like Hyperdimension Neptunia U. Alright, so that's the brief review of my first impressions with Drive Girls. Please let me know what you think below, and feel free to check out some of the other videos and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.